Are you mad though? It looks like you mad though. I will be reviewing Dirty John Betty Season 2 Episode 8. Day of Betty's trial. And you hear the words, I can't remember, I can't remember. You hear these words too often when someone is committing a crime. The one that is probably committing the act probably cannot remember because their mind is blocked full of rage. Betty is in prison receiving a lot of fan mail, and this is making her happy. She is receiving a lot of support from people from the outside world on how they can relate to her story, and they've been where she was at. The prosecutor is showing Dan's character in a good light on how he was a good person by supporting Betty, in which he did not have to, and the prosecutor brought into evidence the $3,000 check which supported Betty, and she wrote thank you on the bottom of the check. And also she tried to make it seem like Dan was not the problem in the relationship, but it was Betty, and Betty declined it and said it was not true, that Dan tried to manipulate the situation and try to make it seem like she was the bad person. In reality, they both played a part in talking about the marriage, which Betty was more the obsessor though, because that's all she talked about was Dan and Linda. Betty felt like the court ruined her life because it didn't give her room to do anything else in her life. All she had to do was go to court, and she had trials and dates, which I agree with Betty with that. When you're dealing with the courts, it doesn't really leave you room to do anything in your life, and which you really have to wait until court is really over if you really want to live a good constructive life. Prosecutor goes over the night of the event, and Betty says she cannot remember. Betty receives more fan mail from all over the world, and this is making her ecstatic and actually giving her more pride than she needs. Because Betty was emotional does not mean she didn't have the pretense to kill because she was emotional. Betty thinks it's legal terrorism and corruption about her case, and she is continuing to write thank you letters. While on TV, the prisoners are watching this TV about a case called Anita Hill, and the lady referenced her case to how people think she's a bitter, crazy person to Betty, and Betty was like, that doesn't mean anything. That's because somebody's opinion, and they only think that you're worthless, and Betty don't think she's worthless. And I said she took that with a grain of salt. Let that roll off her back like that. Betty is back in court, and it comes to find out the jurors are deadlocked. They cannot come up with a verdict, and is happy about this situation. And I said this is terrible, because when a juror cannot come up with a verdict, that means the next go round they will deem you guilty. They have done that to a lot of celebrities where they thought they was free, and then when the case came back around, they was found guilty. The lawyer comes to visit her in jail to prepare her for the next trial, and Betty is not taking this serious, and she's talking about all the fan mail she's getting, and the lawyer want her to prepare for the case and gives her a transcript to go over and to look over everything. The prosecutor is going to be ready for her this go round, because she's going to be thorough in the courtroom the next time. And this is Betty once again, who do not listen, because she wanted to do an interview, and the lawyer advised her not to interview with any reporters, and she's going to do it anyway. So she wanted to talk about bail, because Betty wanted Bill to get out of prison. And at the end of the day, she refers her to another man who did a crime in another state, and how he got bail, and how she don't got bail. And the lawyer explains that this is a double murder, and she is a possibility of a flight risk. That's why she is not gonna get bail. Betty in jail playing games on the goddamn phone. She calling people, telling people she escaped from prison. She at 7-Eleven and laughing and giggling like a maniac, like a crazy person. I'm like, OMG. This is why they won't give her bail. Because she doing things like this. Yo. Betty does the interview with the reporter, and she corrects the reporter. This is the second trial. The prosecutor is giving her opening statement, and then Betty is in prison. She gets a visit from her boys, and her boys look like they don't want to be around her. They feel like they're uncomfortable, and I understand why, because she killed their father, and they don't know how to feel. They don't know how to respond to her, making this situation very uncomfortable. And Betty is not really knowing who her children are because they growing up. So she's missing out on a lot of things in her children's lives at this point. So we back in court. So people are testifying in the courtroom. Some is in support of Betty and some are against Betty. There was a man gave his testimony that on that day, when he went to the house, they was dead, and when he went to go call the police, the phone was gone, but the police was there on the scene anyway, coming up the stairs, and he told them that they was dead. One of her friends that you thought was close to her turned against her in the courtroom and was using Dan's words against her, saying how she was an alcoholic and she was money hungry. I was like, what? They say it's always the ones that's closest to you that always be the ones to stake you. I'm telling you, that's what they say. Also, her two daughters testified in court on how the family was when they was married and how things was after they married, and how Dan was not a good father but grew to become a better father towards them. Betty is on the stand. She's giving her statement about what happened that night, and the prosecutor come at her hard. Betty says she can't remember, but the prosecutor bring all evidence into the court when she was in prison. She did the interview with the magazine, how she was writing fans about everything, making it seem like she was unapologetic of what she has done, of killing 2 people that night. And you have time to say you can't remember, but you can correct a magazine reporter. I said at this point, Betty shot her own self in the foot with this, because she did not listen. She was stuck in her ways, didn't want to change, and this was the end result of what happened. So Betty is in court, and the jurors give their verdict, and they found her guilty. It looked like Betty's heart was about to jump out of her chest, and she could not believe it. And they take her back to jail. Betty's in jail. She's on the phone. So she says they really don't know what they thought of each other, or what they were supposed to be looking in each other. You remember them dancing, listening to music. She sings a song, and then you have her in her jail cell looking at the young Dan, reminiscing if things could have been different as they grew out of love. With the Cold Reef house, it would have been sold. Day of the court, she would have had a lawyer. When she asked Dan was he cheating, that Dan would have told her the truth, that he was in love with Linda. Also, when she would have went up to Dan's house, she could have introduced herself to Linda, saying that I was Betty, his wife, so Linda could have known that he was married. When she dropped off the kids, telling them to come back, because they were going home, until she got her first wedding ring. Dan is older, sitting with Linda. I say find a quiet place so you could think clearly and get a better understanding of the situation, so you can know how to handle the situation better. I love this show. I thought it was good. I love the actors and actresses. I thought they did an amazing job. And I just want to say, I want to thank God, and you should thank God, that you're not a Betty Broderick. So this definitely was an inspiring show.